Hello and welcome. I'm Troy Sadowski, data scientist from datascientist.net, the founder and creator of that site. And this morning we are looking at data analytics or sport analytics in Tableau. And welcome everybody to this morning or this evening session. And I thought we have 21 registrations for this event this morning, and we've got 7 of us here together we thought we can give a quick intro of each person here to do a little bit of networking and share where we're coming from. And then we will hear from our guest speaker this morning, which is David Keys, who is the #1 Tableau Guru in Australia, and I believe the only certified Tableau trainer in Australia. And he has done some interesting work in sports analytics, and one of his passion sports is dragon boating. So it's great to see the application of data science coming in to not only the sports analytics, but to help him achieve his levels of performance that he's currently seeing in his passion, which is dragon boating, as we all can take that as a process that we can then apply data science to our own interests and goals that we're looking to achieve. So we'll be trying to wrap it up within 40 minutes. And so if we can give a quick intro from everyone down the line, and then we'll hand over to David Keys. And also, just if you can use that mute button that you'll find at the bottom left corner of the Zoom dialog box, we'll be able to ensure that we minimize the background noise there. But please turn it on when you're ready to talk. So first, I think we'll skip Dave and we'll go straight to Manoj. Manoj, could you quickly give us a background of yourself and your interest in data science, and maybe something outside of data science that you have a general interest in?
All right. Hi, everyone there. My name is Manoj. I'm working with Scient Limited in Hyderabad, India. Currently, I'm based at Helsinki. I'm on a project with a VR group over here. My background is like almost for 12 years, I've worked in mining and manufacturing. And for last 4 years, I'm working as a subject matter expert and data scientist. So my interests are into finding hidden gems out of the data what we get from the clients.
Great.
And I'm very much excited over here to get through this presentation. This is what I keep looking time and again, every time, during weekend mostly, like if any events are happening, go about it and learn something new, interesting. Right. Thank you very much, everyone there.
Glad to have you here, Manoj. So we'll switch over to Rich Flores in the US. Rich.
Hi, everyone. Rich Flores, just outside of Boston, Massachusetts, former portfolio analytics analyst at Bank of America. And my interests are sculling, rowing, obviously data science. So when I heard dragon boating and data science, I signed right up. I'm like, what's not to love about all that? And I'm really, as I mentioned earlier, some of the people on the call interested in transitioning over to a more formal data science role and learning what there is, what's out there, what's the various applications, and what how I can utilize them and in my next career.
Thanks, Rich. Yeah, great to have you here. So we'll go over to Sharang. Sharang, welcome. Can you?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Hi. My name is Sharang. I'm currently in DC in the US. I'm pursuing my master's degree in data science at GW, George Washington University. So I mean, this is something cool for me. I've been trying to do something in Tableau, but it doesn't come up too well. So I was thinking that maybe if I attend this session, maybe I could broaden my mind with respect to sport analytics. So that's why I'm here today. And apart from that, I like playing soccer, football. So yeah, thank you.
Welcome, Sharang. Yeah, thank you. So over to Ramesh. Ramesh, how are you?
Hi, Troy. How's it going?
Good, good. I'm great. So yeah, glad you could.
Yeah, wonderful. Yeah, good morning, everyone.
Can you tell us a little bit of your background, Ramesh, and where you're from? And Ramesh and I have been talking for a number of years. We're good friends through datascientist.net, but just for the record, Ramesh, just a quick.
All right. Hi. I'm an engineer from Malaysia, so I've been in industry for a while. So I'm basically from a projects background. So it's like curiosity brought me over here, and I'm kind of interested in the applications of data science because it's virtually unlimited. So I thought, like, let's just give it a go, and here I am.
Glad you could join us. Thanks, Ramesh. And I'm not sure if Bill has a mic or not. We haven't heard other than through text message, but Bill, are you able to say hello and give an overview of yourself and your interests in data science and otherwise? I think you might be unable to send that through. Oh, yep, here it comes. Hello, currently working in Excel programming and interest in branching out. Great to have you here, Bill. And so we'll get started. And actually, before we do, we just lost. Oh no, Dave's there. I thought you just shifted positions in the queue on the video screen. So, I was just going to say before we start, I just wanted to give a little plug actually for some new things that are happening with datascientist.net. If you're interested in doing more of these sorts of sessions where you get to talk and collaborate with data scientists, check out datascientist.com, which has a new program called the Pit Stop program. It's an 8-week program that we just get together one-on-one and talk about your goals as a data scientist, where you want to get to at the end of the 8-week program. And each week we meet and talk and keep the conversation alive around data and analytics, and support each other in those weekly goals that we set each week. And in addition to that, I also wanted to talk about a new initiative that's just kicked off called Die Hard Startups. You can check out that at diehardstartups.net. It's just a splash page there for you to register your interest. If you've got a startup that has been running for 3 or 4 years or more, but you haven't made it big yet, this is a group and collaboration just for you guys and myself included. So we can share experiences and work out, what might be the missing piece of making it big in the startup industry. So check out diehardstartups.net for registration on that side of things. So now we'll officially kick into the data analytics around sports. Over to you, Dave. I'm not sure if I've mentioned it, but again, Dave's a great friend of mine, and we are both local in Brisbane. Dave is the local guru, not only in Brisbane, but I'd say in Australia wide, and has done some interesting stuff with Tableau and dragon boating. Over to you, Dave.
Thanks, Troy. Quick correction, I am the only Australian-based Tableau server trainer, but there are other Tableau desktop trainers as well. I tend to do a lot of travelling around. So by way of introduction, David Keys, I'm the Director of Key Data Consulting. We resell a few products around data science, so Tableau, Alteryx, LavaStorm. Also starting to work on another one that's for data warehousing called Agilius, which is quite sensational too. We do a lot of training, consulting, and we also run a service called Data DNA. And so our clients can have us look after their data and present it in a way that helps them get the advantage that they can out of data. So I've done one of the things I find, and you guys I think all find the same thing. I go into different organisations. I typically cannot show people what I've done with other organisations. You know, you sign a non-disclosure agreement and it's illegal essentially for me to show people what I've done with other organisations. So I needed a way of being able to show people what I was doing. And similarly, when I'm teaching people about Tableau or other things in this space, I tend to go around the room and I get people to give a private passion they've got. And they'll come up with all sorts of things. Pretty often it's sport or kids or something like that. For me, I've had a few. The one that's probably given me the most miles, so to speak, is dragon boating. So that's what I'm showing you here today. My dragon boating club, Manly Dragons, we're a relatively young club in the dragon boating world. We're pretty competitive, and we got at the last, every alternate year they have the what's called the Club Crew World Championships, where different smaller clubs can come and compete. You've got to qualify in your country to be able to compete, so most countries only have a small number of clubs go to these World Championships. We've been to the last 3 and we've got a gold medal every time. We got at the last one, which was in April this year, that's a world sprint gold medal, 200 metres for the old farts. That's people like me who are 50 plus. And the way we did that is largely by using data. I think most clubs that are out there, they've got great coaches, but those coaches are doing it based on gut feel and experience. What we've done is we've added the element of using data as part of what we do with our training and with the way we go about testing individuals. So really what I'm doing is I'm going to show you a combination of 2 presentations, 2 that I have done previously, and I've modified them a little bit for this. So I'll run through them both fairly quickly and then I'm happy to and I'll show you one of the visualizations that I've built, and I'll just very quickly build it on the fly so you can see how I do it. First question might be, what is dragon boating? So this will give you an idea what it is. This is a sprint. I'll just turn the volume off. Now, along here, people start saying around about now, oh, they've sped it up. This has been sped up to make it look faster. And then what you'll see at about this stage, and in fact it's slowing down now, at about this stage, you'll see a woman walking across and she's going at normal speed. This is not sped up. That is slowing down. The speed that we're going at in this is really quite phenomenal. So we cover something like 200 metres in a sprint. We cover 200 metres in about under 50 seconds. Which, when these boats are built like Caterpillar trucks, if that makes sense, they're very heavy. They're not sleek, slender, and designed for efficiency in the water. It's really about seeing how fast we can get through. So that's a quick one about who we are. So we started collecting data. We use a pedal. I'll be showing you a clip of the pedal shortly. Where are we? Come back. So we use a couple of different devices. We've got this Excalibur Pedal that collects 128 records a second. And those records, each record includes how much power is being applied to the blade while you're pulling through the water, X, Y, Z, the angle of the blade, whether it's how far forward or back it's going, so as it's going forward and back, and how much roll there is on the pedal. We've got 70 paddlers averaging 3+ hours a week on training on the water, and then a bunch of other training off the water. We collect millions of rows of raw data. It's ridiculous the amount of data we're collecting. What we find is typically the gadgets we're collecting the data with, this Excalibur, this Motion Master. We also use some apps on mobile phones. Typically the gadgets are designed by engineers to look at very discrete data sets, and we need typically to do a lot of manipulation of the data to get it so it's useful for our purpose. The other thing we find is that our coaches, they're great dragon boat coaches, but they're not data analysts. They're not like we are. So really it's about getting the data to make it intuitive for the coaches to be able to use it. The data device is not designed to work together to get better context. So really what I'm going through here is showing that. We're also looking for new devices. So one thing I saw that's really interesting, when you're paddling in a dragon boat, it's really about how much power you're transferring to the shell of the boat. So I'm looking at some socks, and these socks have pressure sensors in them. So, you know, if we can capture the data that's the amount of power that's being transferred through those socks while someone's wearing it, that's something that we'd be interested in looking at. Data challenges, typically the data formats are ugly, text, headers, complex, the volume's large. We've found we really need to narrow the focus. We don't want all the data. We're blending it from disparate sources, and there's a bit of a cycle going on. We learn something, it gets us to ask another question, then we go and retune the data to answer another question. It's a continual cycle. So yeah, here's some examples of some of the data. So you can see we're getting some weird and wonderful formats there. Here are the devices we're using. So this is an Excalibur Pedal. We click a little button on here and it starts recording. It's recording angle, power, roll, twist, all that sort of jazz. But we're also using phone apps. So boat coach, stroke coach, there's a few things like that. And we've got another little device we get that measures X, Y, Z accelerometers on the boats and all of that sort of jazz. I have historically been using a product called LavaStorm to pull this data together and get it into Tableau. Oh, the other one I use is, believe it or not, Google Forms and Google Sheets. I use Google Forms, which captures it into Google Sheets. Tableau can now, I used to pull this data into LavaStorm from Google Sheets, but now Tableau can connect directly to Google Sheets. So things have changed since then. And here, data gathering to sports science. Really, it was about building a framework, constantly refining that framework. I use a design of experiments approach. So really what I'm doing there is I'm designing experiments to answer a question and then really following this cycle, just going around in circles. So I'll answer one question, it leads to another, then I'll design a new experiment to answer a different question. I've got a guy that is from the Australian Institute of Sport that's also helping us, how we look at the data, how we use it. And we're starting to get some guys from, we've been talking with Griffith Uni about getting some guys from there doing some sports science to help us with some of the data. because we're capturing so much data. Example outputs, so I'll go through some of these. We're pretty much done through here. One of the things we do that I'll be showing you is erg testing. So we've got a device there and there's someone sitting there. How far can they pull a pedal in a 2-minute session? By the end of this, you're absolutely shattered. So we'll pull that up and give you a look at that. And then one of the visualizations that I'll be showing you will be based on how far we can do that. So this is what an erg test looks like.
What ERG stands for, erg?
Oh, good grief. Electronic. No, I'm sorry. I'd be making it up if I told you I did.
Okay.
It's something we've always used. It's part of the industry.
Right.
By the end of it, you're absolutely shattered. It really is an exhausting task to go through. You can see the way the machinery is jumping around based on the effort this guy's putting in. So what's changed as a result? This is where we're measuring data from the Excalibur Pedal. One of my coaches once said to me that in every paddler, there's actually 3 different paddlers. And one of the issues we find is that the truth of that is that those 3 paddlers are who the paddler thinks they are, who everyone else thinks that paddler is, or what they're like as a paddler, and then what the paddler really is. So really what we're doing here is we're trying to get it so that we're comparing everyone on a like-for-like basis. So we're looking at one individual paddler only. In this example here, this is what I'll be pulling back. This data captured from that bright yellow paddle. Here's the amount of power that's being applied to the water. It's 60 seconds of paddling for 2 different paddlers. I said 128 seconds, 128 samples per second. So this is 60 seconds of paddling, and each dot is one of those samples. You can see that one paddler is getting a lot more power in than the other one. The grey, this is how much roll the paddler's got, and the grey is showing how much roll there is on the pedal. You don't really want that much roll. So rather than spending too long on that, I'll get to a stage where we're looking at that visualization. And that's about it for that. So now I'll very quickly just show you another quick thing. I'll just skip through this fairly quickly. And data science for sport, another thing that's getting really popular is these man bras. So this is quite interesting. What these guys are doing, this is a fairly famous Australian rugby player. They wear these man bras and they're capturing data that's quite unreal. They're measuring acceleration while they're running around the field. They also measure things like impacts. And if you think about the way they capture data from cars that are racing, this is doing a similar thing. How much energy is being spent by the athlete in running around? How much acceleration are they doing? Also, how much are they getting knocked around with collisions as they're running into other players? That data gets captured. What we're doing with our things like the boat coach app and the stroke coach app is we're capturing how fast, what the stroke rate is, how fast we're going. See, these are different sets while we were training. You can see the drop between sets in speed. And as we go along, we can also capture how fast we're going and where we're going. Part of that really just makes it more interesting for the paddlers. I've already shown you that one. That's the lava storm pulling the data together, and the way we're pulling the data from disparate sources and getting it together, and we can then drop it into Tableau or any of the other tools that are around. It's also partly about getting the visualizations right. These are not so clear. So one of the things I do like about Tableau is it allows us to make things much simpler to see. So in those examples I showed where we had the grey spots are every paddler and the red is one paddler individual. I'll show you this visualization in a second, so we can let the paddlers understand how they're performing compared to the rest of the club. So this person's all over the shop. This person's getting great power and they've got a very clearly refined stroke. So now we might just, I'll come back to that one towards the end of the session. So now we might jump in and show you some of what we've been doing. Sports visualizations, you'll see, the other thing that's going on with, I went to the International Dragon Boating Federation at one of the competitions in 2014 and said the results that they were producing were not particularly analytics friendly. And I asked if I could get a copy of the raw data to produce some visualizations. Here's one that I've done. This one's based on the Australian Dragon Boating Federation Championships. There's another one that's also based on the World Championships back in 2014, and I'm now starting to build another platform for the International Dragon Boating Federation that will be using Tableau Public to display dragon boating results for most championships going forward. So essentially you can select your team from the teams that competed in the competition. I've selected my team, which is Manly. This then goes through and pulls back a list of the different results that my team competed in. And that then goes through and pulls back which races we went in, and we can see how the different teams went in those races. So on this one we came first. I've got this by lane order, and I spoke to a fellow by the name of Stephen Few that some of you may have heard of, who's sort of analytics best practice, and he suggested that I do it, that I change and not use the lanes, but use the what I did back here, which is just put them in order, and then I can use less text explaining how different things work. So this is the refined version of the other one. So then on there, I've also got other things going on, which are maps, and the map is showing by country. We can select what we're doing. So have the country colour represent how many teams there were, how many points based on a 3-2-1 scale, 3 for gold, 1 for bronze, and so on. And there's a dot there for every club that has read, that I had the details for, that competed at those championships. And there's drop downs there to allow me to present how that club went, or to present different data that's available based on those clubs. So moving out of that into this one, there's just some, these are available on my website and the blog, just different things going on. You can have a look at those later on, because I'll start using too much time here, and I'm sure you guys want me to get into building something with Tableau. So let's do it. First, I'll show you, this is one of the ones that we use. I'll show you the end result first. This is 12 people, 12 individual paddlers using that Excalibur Pedal, and we can pick an individual paddler and see how they're competing. The blue is the individual paddler, the grey is everyone. This one over here is just the data for the individually selected paddler, and the red versus blue versus grey shows the amount of roll on the paddle. Truth is, this paddler, while they've got great power, they're pulling the paddle at an angle rather than flat against the water. So some of the water's actually sliding off the side of the paddle. And that's shown by the amount of red we've got during the power part of the paddle. So you can see while they're generating a lot of power, they're not getting as far because their stroke's not as efficient. So this person, we can improve their paddling considerably, fairly quickly. I can scroll through the different paddlers here and we can see how they're competing. This paddler here, we can show them how they're really not, they pull about 20 kilos of power at the beginning, and then it drops back to a bit over 10, about 11.7, 11.3. So we can scroll through the different paddlers and we can see what they're doing, how they're doing, and compare them against other paddlers. So this guy, I know who this paddler is, and this guy has actually got one of the best paddling styles in our club. He weighs about 70 kilos. This guy weighs nothing, but he gets some of the best power in the boat. So, you know, he's got a very efficient stroke. You can see he's getting a lot of power, and he's not got a lot of colour going on while he's paddling up here. We want to see colour while we're going along here. Another thing out of interest, you can see when you see us dragon boating that we're sitting on both sides of the boat. Red is the paddler that's sitting on one side of the boat, if it makes sense, pulling back that way. So we're getting the roll, and it's demonstrated like that. If they're paddling on the other side of the boat, then they're getting the roll like that. So red versus blue, as I scroll through these paddlers, tells you whether they're on the left side or the right side. And then we get, yeah, so this person was paddling on the opposite side, those people with red down the bottom. Okay, so the other thing I wanted to show people as part of this allows me to compare two paddlers directly. I've got a bit of an axis thing going on there. The other thing I wanted to show people was where the power is. All the power in paddling is at the front of the stroke. It's not at the back of the stroke. Here I've just used a diagram, a picture with the analytics we're getting so that people can see where the power is relative to how you're sitting on the dragon boat and how far the power goes. So let's go build this visualization. I won't build the entire visualization, but I'll build enough so you can see how it's working, how it's coming together. I've got, in the way that that data is captured, I'll just, when we pull the Excalibur pedal, we get one of these little CSV files. And you can see what's going on there. I just need to click on one and you can see the data. So it gives me the time, the offset, the load on the pedal, the roll and the pitch. This is what comes back. It's relatively simple, it's cleaned up. There's other data we can pull from it. So I'm going to pull those into Tableau. Actually, let me just go and get that path because it will help me. So in Tableau, I'm just going to connect the data. It's a text file. One of the newer features in Tableau is the ability to, I'll just connect to the first one to start with. One of the things we can do with Tableau is to build a union of the different data sets. So I can just drag that up here. The little red spot appears there. And if I place them on top of that red spot, we're building a union, and you'll see a new field, or two new fields come over here. One new field, sorry, the table name. So that's really got to putting all the different files together. And you can see there that we've got the first one. And if I scroll down, we'll see the other BB turning into, there's only 1,000 records there, so I'll pull some more. Like I said before, there's a lot of data. It's capturing 128 per second. So as we go down, you can see the other fields coming in. So now I've got the data in shape. I'm going to go into the sheet. Really, a lot of the stuff you saw on the other visualization is building dashboards and using parameters and that sort of thing. First, I'll just build a quick visualization based on the data that's available. I'm going to just double click on, I'm going to put the load, I'll just put it there. I don't want to sum the data. I want to use this as a dimension. So I'm just going to change it to a dimension. And then we've got a different dot there for there's loads of different data points there. I'm going to put the pitch on the other one, and I'll do the same thing. I want that as a dimension there as well. So now we're getting data appearing in here. There's a lot of data there, as you can see. For me, I prefer dots. These are little hollow circles. There's actually logic behind why they're there. And that is so that you can better tell with that where the density of the data is. It may not be best practice. For me, I prefer circles. And then I prefer to go and add some transparency to allow me to see where that density is occurring. So you can see what's going on there. Now, what I'm going to do here, I can add two things. I can put the table name on color, and then we'll get a bit of a confused thing. I can now go and have a look at the individuals against each other. So you can see in the background where the entire data set is and who the individual is compared to those. I can equally easily create a parameter for those. I'll do that in a second. But the other thing I'm interested in is putting role onto color. And in there, that's doing a sum again, so I'm going to make that again a dimension. And we can now see that there's different things going on, how much role the pedal's got going on it. So I'm going to now go and build a parameter so I can compare the pedalers against each other. I'll create a parameter. I'll do it based on, I'll add the, you're not letting me load the offset pitch roll. Table name. It's because I've got that there. My apologies, I'm not thinking straight. If I turn that into a string, then I can base it on the fields that are available over there. Now I can create a highlighter. I can do a calculation here. Call this a highlighter, paddler highlighter. And I'm just going to make it so it's showing me where parameter equals the table name. So now I've got that. That's just giving me a true false. What I'll do also, I'll just rename this. Tableau is pretty good at keeping track of what you do here. I'll call it select paddler. I'll put there's a question mark. I can now go and show that parameter control. I can show this a range of different ways. And if I put the paddler highlighter on color now, so I can use color in different ways. As I go through and select, I might choose different colors for these, because really I want the true. I might want to reorder these, and I might also want to change the colors that are being used so that false can be grey. Let's pick a nice grey that doesn't stand out too much. Maybe there. And we'll make the true a blue. So now, and I might make that grey a little bit darker actually. I do want it to be visible, just not to steal the show. Where are we? Grey. That's a bit better. So now as we cycle through the different paddlers, we can see how each paddler compares to the other. If I want to, I can make that the way you saw me doing it with the slider as well. So I can move along. So we've now got something where we can compare one peddler to the other peddlers. What else did we have on there? We can also have a different graph that might be cumulative power that's being applied. So I might, for example, have time running along here. And I'll take that down to the lowest level, the exact time. And then I might have, I'll filter it this time based on the peddler. So I'm going to go through, so this will just be one individual peddler. Then I can put the amount of effort that that peddler is applying. There we've got the sine wave, so to speak. It's not actually a sine wave, but there we've got the wave form of each peddler and how they're applying that. Or if I want to, I can also go and, here's a little trick for you, hold control, drag that over, and you'll have a duplicate of that. I might have the second one that becomes a cumulative effort applied by that peddler. I can then go and do things like make this a dual axis chart. So we can now see how much the peddler is dropping off and how much cumulative effort they're putting in. And we've still got the ability to go and cycle through the peddlers. Now, Troy, tell me when to be quiet because I think we're about the end of the session. I've shown you the basics of what's in there. I'm happy to take questions if there's any specific areas you want to go.
Yeah, that's great, Dave. It's amazing to see those tips and tricks. I can see like a handful already of things, the insights, just in the way you've from structured the data to you importing it into Tableau to setting up that little calculation there. Some great insights on how to get the best out of Tableau in just, a couple of minutes. So really appreciate that, Dave, and seeing the application, the passion that it comes through from something that you love is just perfectly justifying the power of data science and how we can use it to help us achieve whatever it is, whether it's in a sport or a financial profit and loss that we're aiming for each quarter. So thank you so much for that, Dave. That's a wonderful overview and some great tips, and I appreciate your expertise there in Tableau. That's really great to see.
If I could, Troy, I'll just point to some resources that people can use.
Please do.
One of the things, there's obviously stuff we've got. One of the things that just in what we do, it's tools training consulting. When I'm training, one of the biggest things I do point out to people is I get them to identify a private passion they've got, and what helps me get good on Tableau is I'm still up at 11 o'clock at night working on stuff I'm passionate about as opposed to stuff that's work. So, there's various things we do there. On the resource front, where do I have it? There are I've got a couple of blogs that can be useful. There's one specific one that I'm wanting to point out. You can see that visualization, by the way, if you go to my website, there's a blog there that's called How Analytics Leads to Behavioural Change. Really, you're wanting to achieve something by analytics. There's one here also, How to Get Good at Tableau in 8 Easy Steps. And you'll find in there that I've made some points that talk about, find something you're passionate about. There's free Tableau Public. There's a link there to go and get that. Also, subscribe to Viz of the Day. You'll see some really interesting stuff coming through. There's some great stuff on there at the moment. If anyone's a Game of Thrones fan, have a look at the Game of Thrones Viz on Viz of the Day. It's amazing. There's also a huge amount of stuff up there on Trump versus Clinton and that sort of thing at the moment. Stephen Few that I mentioned, Visual Design Best Practice. There's a link to his website. There's a bunch of stuff in there. You'll find different links to different things that I've done. Yeah, and some parts of those presentations. That's about it. Sorry, Troy.
That's
back over to you.
Great. Excellent, Dave. So yeah, let's open it up for questions now. We've got a little bit of time left to hear from the others that have joined, and please speak up with a question.
Dave.
Yes.
Manoj here. Dave, thank you very much, first of all. A really nice presentation. Interesting. I'm relatively new to this sports analytics. So, I have one question. By looking at this data, suppose if we want to make some kind of decision, what kind of decisions you can take? Can you give some idea about it so that I can correlate the things together?
Visualization, sorry, could you repeat that, please?
Yes, what I'm saying, at the moment I'm looking at some visualization over here onto my screen, right?
Yes.
Suppose if I want to make some kind of inference out of it or some kind of decision out of it, for example, betting kind of thing, who I should be betting upon, which team I should be betting upon, who's going to perform better than others. This kind of inference, how we can make out. I'm relatively new, to sports analytics. That's why I'm asking this question. Might sound some silly, but yes, it is.
Did you get that, Dave?
So what I've done here, I've taken a little bit further than what you saw in the other one. It just needs a little bit more time to build the other one I started. This is 12 individual paddlers, and this allows me to compare the paddlers quite directly. So from here, and this is just the parameter, the same way you saw me build the parameter before, and this visualization and this visualization are the two that the same as this. So this is allowing me to go through and compare one paddler to another. And
okay.
I can use that to really rank the paddlers against each other. So there I can see who's coming in the best. This guy's got the most power and he's applying it the most consistently. You can see there's no colour going on over here. This is filtered for that one individual paddler. Over here, the blue is the individual paddler against the other paddlers. So it's allowing me to do a comparison one against the other. As I change the parameter to highlight the different paddlers, I can see what is going on with those paddlers. So we can see this paddler, for example, they're dropping off during the 1 minute of paddling. They're not capable of keeping the same level of power for the full minute. This is exhausting when you're doing this stuff. It's very much about how well you can sustain your power. Does that answer the question?
Also, Dave,
yes.
Just sparked a question from my side. Have you used this in terms of predictive analytics where you could actually predict the winning team of a boat race, and the applications of what you've got, or the transformation from what you've got now to predictive? Have you considered that or been asked that yet?
We don't actually have training data from the different teams. What we do have and what we have been able to use is power. We've also got a erg. I showed you what an erg is, and we do get the paddlers to do a 2-minute test on the erg, and we can see how the paddlers perform when they're doing the test on that erg. So we can see how people are improving. We've set up a thing where people can just fill out a Google form based on the results they do when they do a 2-minute test on the erg, and we can compare paddler against paddler based on those tests. And we do use that to help to identify who the strongest paddlers are at any point in time. And that's not exclusively, there's more factors than just power go into a selection of a team. But we do use that to help identify who might be in a good team. The other thing we've done with that is we've been able to take we've been able to normalise the data we get from how people perform on the erg and the times we get on different races. And we've actually been able to predict within about a second how fast we can how fast a dragon boat will compete in a race for our team, because we've got good data for that team. So we can almost say, okay, well, if we have these paddlers in this boat, we expect to do this time. However, if we change the paddlers around and we have this different set of paddlers in this boat, here's what the impact might be on the time we achieve.
That's great. That's great.
Okay, interesting. Yes.
Any other questions? I think we've got time for one more.
Dave, I was just curious. Did every paddler in the boat? You mentioned there were how many? First of all, how many paddlers are in the boat, and did each one have an Excalibur paddle?
Yeah, we've got there's essentially two different races, or two different types. We've got a boat that's got 10 paddlers and a boat that's got 20 paddlers. The Excaliburs, and then there's one person at the front beating a drum and one person at the back steering the boat. We've only got one Excalibur. They're pretty expensive. So what we do is we set up our tests, we design our experiments in such a way that we rotate it through the boat, but we do it in such a way that the paddler does it from a rested base, if that makes sense. We also do some of the testing we've set up some kayaks so that paddlers have the ability to do a fresh test with the Excalibur. So we're not comparing someone that's been exhausted from being out training for half an hour versus someone that got the paddle first off. So we're eliminating as much error as we can. Truth is, we can't eliminate all error, and we're just minimising it. So it's a good question.
Great. Thanks, Rich.
That was actually, and just a quick follow-up. So then, the sensors and they're not obviously readily available, or could you utilize, where would you get like sensors to maybe, in my case, outrig like oars for sculling?
Okay, if you go to, there's good grief. The fellow that built it, he's actually an Australian guy, but he sells it. I know he does sell them overseas. His name is Jeff German, and I'm just having a memory blank on the website name. So here we go. He also has done it for, in fact, there, Dragon Boat Paddler. He has done it for Merlin Gear is the website. He has done it for rowing as well. I'm not sure if he's done a lot of it, but I know he does. He has looked at doing that.
Okay, great. Thank you.
So it'd be worth dropping him an email. Tell him I put you onto him, and he'll say, "Oh, that guy. Haven't heard from him for a while. What's he doing?"
Great. Okay, so I think if there's any other priority questions, speak up now, or we'll start to wrap it up. And yeah. Who's that? Someone wanting to say something, or is this background noise?
I think it's in the text, Rick. Did every paddler in the Dragon Boat have an Excalibur? Yeah, the question you just asked, Rick, sorry.
So, looks like no more questions. Thanks, everyone, for attending this session on sports analytics and Tableau. And a big thank you to Dave Geese for sharing those insights and the tips that we've got now to apply to whether it's sport analytics or our data science projects that we got going. the beauty about data science is the applications are almost infinite, and the same processes that we've seen and witnessed that come together to give the insights in dragon boating can be applied to any domain and industry. So thanks again for everyone who's attending, and those who might be watching this on the recorded session. Feel free to reach out to me, and I'll speak for Dave as well. If you need anything in the future, please don't hesitate to get in touch. And if you haven't already, register for new events that we're looking to happen once a month on datascientist.net. So you can see the registration options if you go to datascientist.net. Thanks again.
Sure.
And
Thanks, Dave.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for putting this together.
Thanks,
Thank you.
everyone there. Yeah.
thanks,
Bye-bye.
everyone. Have a good day or night, wherever time zone you're in.
Yeah, it's almost
Thanks,
1:30 in the night. Yeah.
Thank you, Measures. And Raj, thank you. Good night and good day.
Thank you, everyone. Yeah. Bye-bye.